Well, if there was something that was ever going to make me to do videos again, this would have certainly been it. So, welcome back everybody. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so let's see if we can take another crack at it, shall we? Sonic the Hedgehog. Or as I like to call it, the second most stress-inducing movie that I've been asked about this year, outside of Dune maybe. Now for those who might not be aware, all 5 of you, I might as well go ahead and get this out of the way. Sonic the Hedgehog is of course based on the eponymous character from the Sega video game franchise. So the movie Sonic the Hedgehog stars Ben Schwartz as Sonic himself, James Marsden as Tom Wachowski, a local police officer in the city of Green Hills, Montana, and arguably the star of the show, outside of Sonic himself, Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, or who, let's be honest, might as well be called Mr. Scene Stealer from this movie. Now, I'm going to be completely honest and upfront, people. I was extremely worried about this movie coming out. And of course, when the first trailer dropped, we all saw what the original design looked like. Let's face it, that original design? Ugh. Yeah, that's not exactly pleasant. Thankfully, however, one of the biggest upsides of this movie is the fact that Paramount themselves, Jeff Fowler, and the effects team went and took their time to redesign the character and actually present something that was a little bit more cartoonish and akin to the actual design of Sonic, which I think is a major plus of this movie. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. What exactly is the premise of this movie? Well, to sum it up in the shortest manner I can, basically Sonic the Hedgehog, an alien from another world, comes to our world, lives on here for about a little over a decade or so, I think about 16 years if I remember correctly. Sonic unknowingly exposes himself to the public using his super speed powers, and thus the government of the United States is after him and his power, specifically one Dr. Ivo Robotnik, who are now tracking him down across the Pacific Northwest, and it's up to Tom to try and help Sonic to get to San Francisco, because now Sonic, due to an accident and completely not of his fault, ends up losing the golden rings that allow him to transport between different worlds or different locations depending on which one he chooses. Concerning that Paramount director Jeff Fowler and the effects team took their time to actually redesign the character and try to make him as believable as possible while still fitting in with his original design, is something that I feel like should be commended, and considering the crunch time these people must have been under, must have been ludicrous. And what's great about this is that even with the crunch time and all the effort they squeezed into it, they managed to make Sonic a much more emotionally expressive character. You actually see signs of him feeling lonely, feeling sad, angry, frustrated, sarcastic, and happy or excited. They gave him a full range of character in this one, and it made me feel so elated, the fact that it's like, yes, you managed to capture more of this personality of a character that I deeply care about, despite the fact that, yes, normally he's a little bit sarcastic and has a bit of an attitude. That's who he is. He's always been like that. But aside from the serviceable acting from the rest of the cast, Sonic's animation, his expressiveness, and his personality actually done very well, probably the biggest scene stealer this entire movie was Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, and pretty much anybody who saw the first trailer, even when the crappy design of Sonic was around, and we all looked at it and say, that doesn't look good at all, we all pretty much agreed and said, you know what, at least Jim Carrey looks like he'll have fun in this movie and will probably salvage this movie, and you know what? Considering the fact that they changed the design, we not only have a good Sonic design that actually is more expressive and animated and well done to the personality of the character, we also have a really hammy villain in the form of Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, who, in my opinion, this is old school classic Jim Carrey akin to Ace Ventura and The Mask. And this is the fun Jim Carrey that we all love, because when he is on screen, he is just chewing up every scene he's in. I mean, literally, his introduction is him chewing out this army guy and say that nobody cares who he is, because literally, it's all Robotnik all the time. He's so egotistical, he's so maniacal, and he is enjoying every single second of it. He's so self-aware of the fact that he's a bad guy, and he's just crazy, wackadoo, completely adamant over the idea of brains versus bronze, and he will go to hell or high water in order to prove it. Another thing worth mentioning is the soundtrack itself, and yes, there are some classic tunes like Green Hill Zone, because of course that has to be related to every single Sonic thing that has ever been put out. As much as some people get annoyed with it, you kind of understand it's like, yeah, it kind of has to be here. But another thing that I noticed about each of the songs in the movie is that it either has something to do with speed or has something thematic to do with Sonic himself. For example, they had played Don't Stop Me Now from Queen in there. I didn't even think about hearing Queen about in this movie, but as soon as it came out, I was like, huh, that's an oddly fitting song. Alright, now that I've sung this movie's praises a little bit far enough, let me get to the one thing that I would say is probably the weakest aspect of this movie, and that's the comedy. If anything, I would say the comedy in this film falls into two categories, one of which is pop culture references, and the other one following Sonic himself as a character and just making fun of the situation himself. For example, a joke that involves Sonic as a character himself involves him and Tom hanging out at a bar, and it's just all the wacky slapstick and the crazy hijinks that ensues from them being there. It's not a pop culture reference of any kind, it's just, hey, what would happen if Sonic and Human were hanging out at a bar together and they just happened to get in some shenanigans? However, when Sonic starts dropping Fast and Furious references, or the fact that he's doing Fortnite dancing, that's just when the jokes fall a little flat. And borderlines on the level of cringe-inducing, which frankly made me want to hurt myself. But even with the mixed bag comedy, I can't even get mad at this movie considering the fact that we've had so many bad video game movies over the past, 20 plus years at this point. And so the fact that we even have one that's mildly decent and, I don't know, Super Mario Brothers, Silent Hill Revelation, every Uwe Boll adaptation ever made, every Resident Evil movie ever made. Jeez, the list goes on and on now just thinking about it. It makes my head spin. Oh yeah, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, that one too. Holy crap, that was a dumpster fire. So in short, is the comedy a mixed bag? Yes, it is. Do all the pop culture references land? No. Ben Schwartz does fantastic as Sonic himself. Jim Carrey steals every scene he's in and he's a blast to watch. And even the rest of the cast does an admirable job considering the situation they're in and the simplistic plot. Is this the best video game adaptation that's ever been done so far? Arguably, I'd say so. Is it a good choice for families to go see and fans alike to watch without feeling insulted? I'd say absolutely. So with that in mind, and alright, let me get the cobwebs dust off of this one. I'd say that Sonic the Hedgehog, the live action movie, is worth watching, but not perfect. Felt good to do that again. So there you go, guys. That is my review of Sonic the Hedgehog live action movie. I hope you enjoyed this. Now, for those of you who may not be aware of this being my first video on this channel, I used to do videos on my old channel of Perry the One-Armed Legend. For any of you my old subscribers that end up stumbling upon this video, first of all, how you doing? I am sorry for being gone so long, but I want to make this clear. I'm going to be back on YouTube and back on making videos for a long while going forward. I'm planning on doing one every week, and if you're new to this channel, first off, let me formally welcome you to the channel. I hope you have a good time here. And if you want to see more Sonic-related content or other video game-related content, then stick around, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.